Hello, good evening. I'm Lisa Broom. This is the CBC Evening News. Prime Minister Fendel Stewart says there is a critical link between a healthy work environment and productivity. Mr. Stewart made the comment as he delivered the featured address at the launch of the Week of Excellence, jointly hosted by the Central Bank of Barbados, the Social Partnership, and other key stakeholders. The theme of this year's week is Bridging the Gap, Today's Leaders, Tomorrow's Prospects. The event was held at the Grand Salle of the Central Bank.
An unhealthy worker and an unfit workplace can impact productivity negatively and can lead to other undesirable results. Some of these are an increased burden being placed on our social security system, burden ranging from the payment of rising sickness benefit claims and the increased operating expenses incurred as a result of the need to hire temporary workers to replace sick staff members, to the inability to meet stipulated deadlines originally agreed on with the business clientele.
Mr. Stewart reiterated government's commitment to healthy work environments and reflected on efforts to date to ensure that the highest standards are upheld.
The government regards a safe and healthy work environment to be an essential factor in the raising of productivity. And to this end, in the year 2013, we proclaimed the Safety and Health at Work Act, thereby bringing it into force to protect the health, safety, and welfare of persons at work. The Labor Department has been working with employers and other stakeholders to ensure that they are fully sensitized about the more salient features of the Act, and this effort has been reaping much success.
Prime Minister Stewart has also lauded the private sector for setting up safety and health committees and training programs. Members of Parliament could soon get more money to maintain their constituencies. The revelation from Prime Minister Fendel Stewart. He intends to push for the increases once the local economic and financial situation improves. Mr. Stewart describes the monthly grant of $2,500 as inadequate to cover the operating expenses of the constituency offices. He made the comments at the recent reopening ceremony of the St. Michael West Central Constituency Branch Office.
That sum was put in place around 1995 or thereabout. But things have changed so dramatically between 1995 and the present that as soon as things look up in Barbados and we get economic things back on track in the way in which we want them to be, I intend to increase that sum of money so that members of Parliament can better look after the interests of their constituents.
Sugar farmers in Barbados are to start receiving millions of dollars from government in support for the industry from tomorrow. This disclosure from Agriculture Minister Dr. David Estwick. He says the support over the next 5 years will total just over $70 million. The funds have already been secured through a loan from ANSA Merchant Bank. Dr. Estwick made the comments at a DLP meeting of its St. Michael Northeast branch at the Lawrence T. Gay Primary School. Peter Thorne has the story.
Dr. Estwick says funding for the sugar industry in the short, medium and long term has been secured, and he's confident of the industry's future and its ability to survive as a producer of value-added and technological products.
Come Tuesday, latest, the first $12 million distribution will occur.
Okay. Wonderful.
The first $12 million distribution will occur. But what? And then that distribution will continue all the way down to June. Now what we got to do now is realizing that things were so bad for 2015, we realized that that yield going to be low. But we plan to up for 2016 and up for 2017 and so on and so on. See? Because we now have the money allocated for it, and I now don't have to dodge about and beg for money. I have the money from Answer Merchant Bank in the bank.
Dr. Eswick says the monies from Answer Merchant Bank will be for the field side of cane production, but that the most critical application of the funding is after this year's crop. He adds that he can't deal with all the arrears in the industry at this time, but will do so bit by bit.
After 2015 crop, they now have the money, start plowing the lands, start bringing back in the lands, start hiring the people, start bringing the canes back into production. You don't have the money, all right? Once that happens, I am confident that we can get back up to around 28 tons per acre.
Dr. Eswick says the plan is to have Andrews factory demolished by July at the end of this year's harvest and allow Port Vale to hold the fort as government pushes ahead with a multi-purpose factory. He says financing to the tune of $250 million will be coming from National Standards Finance, and it includes a component to buy all the equipment needed for the industry, which will be leased out to the plantations.
In that $250 million is $40 million to buy all the tractors, all the harvesters, all the trailers, everything you need for sugarcane production in Barbados.
No breaking down.
And right, that's the point, is it? And they're going to be no lease out to the plantations because we know the plantations don't have money to run even the sugar operations. So we didn't get money to buy equipment.
Yes.
Right? So coming out of that funding, $40 million for that, then the second set of money is to restructure the Barbados Agricultural Management Company.
Dr. Eswick is hoping that with the way now clear, the 2015 sugar harvest can start. And he's predicting that with increased yields and support now in place from 2016 onwards, a return to at least 28,000 tons of sugar a year will become the norm. Peter Thorne, CBC News.
Thanks, Peter. To whom much is given, much is expected. And Tourism Minister Richard Seeley hopes members of the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association will bear this in mind when it comes to pay increases for hotel workers. His comments came during a joint meeting of the Democratic Labour Party branches at the George Lamming Primary School. Dale Ford has more.
Tourism Minister Richard Seeley is not supporting the Barbados Hotel and Tourism Association's stance to freeze the wages of hotel workers. Mr. Seeley says after months of decline, tourism is on an upward trajectory, and those benefits need to be shared with the people who are making the sector successful. He pointed to a 25% increase in arrivals from Canada and a 25% increase out of the United Kingdom. While attributing higher numbers to increased airlift from Air Canada and Virgin Airlines and British Airways respectively, he said the main attraction is the Sandals brand. And with government making it more affordable for hoteliers to compete by offering concessions, he says hoteliers need to give back.
The hotel workers basically have held strain through this crisis. They didn't call any strike action. They didn't walk out. And working in the hotel industry is very tough work. Now that the hoteliers have gotten everything that they have wanted, and we have seen an increase in arrivals and an increase in spend, I think it sends the right signal to give these workers a little something.
Meanwhile, St. James South MP Donville Innes took issue with a campaign by businessmen Andrew Bino, Anderson Armstrong and trade unionist Patrick Frost to combat alleged vote buying. Mr. Innes said the campaign is based on rumors and anecdotal information rather than empirical data, and he said legislation is already in place to deal with claims if submitted to the relevant authorities.
You're basically saying as individuals like myself who work hard, ran and won a seat, that I did something dubious and something illicit by buying votes in this country. I take great offense to that. I'll also say this to those business people who penned that letter. You need to strongly state, not subliminally, but boldly state that any businessman who provides money to a politician that buys vote should also be locked up and heavily fined.
Minister of Social Care and Constituency Empowerment Steve Blackett says 18 constituency councils are in operation and the other 12 will be up and running soon. He said his ministry is also moving ahead with the completion of community centres.
We are building community centres. We are now building a community centre at St. Mark's, which I visited only last week to see what the progress is. And by the end of March, the contractors have promised me that they will have that building completed. And we've also just fully refurbished and rebuilt the Parkinson Community Center with the assistance of the Murray Holder Trust. All of that infrastructural work we did in the last 6 years since we came to office.
Dale Ford for CBC News.
Dale, thank you. Opposition leader Mia Mottley has defended the Barbados Labour Party's stance to stay away from Parliament. She was speaking during a public meeting at the St. George Secondary School last evening. Lisa Lord has this story.
Opposition leader Mia Mottley says the party she leads operates on principles. She has made it clear that BLP members will not be in the lower house once the Speaker is in the chair and the report from the Committee of Privileges remains outstanding. She also questioned why the report has not yet been laid.
The Barbados Labour Party has agreed to participate in a process with the Committee of Privileges. We have 3 members sitting on that committee. That committee finished its work. It has been deliberating on a report now for 2 weeks or 3 weeks? 3 weeks. If the committee has no more work to do, bring the report to Parliament.
On the issue of tuition fees at the UWI KPhil campus, Ms. Mottley says there has been an almost 50% decline in the number of Barbadians attending university. She says the only way Barbados can secure its quality of life is if people are educated.
We have the confidence, we have the team, we have the creativity to be able to continue our development path, confident that we can assure Barbadians access to education at the tertiary level, free.
The meeting saw contributions from both MPs for the 2 constituencies of St. George. MP for St. George South, Dwight Sutherland, expressed concern about how the national insurance scheme is being managed. And MP for St. George North, Glenn Clark, raised the issue of the delay in income tax returns.
The government cannot service its basic needs on a daily basis. Welfare, education, all of these things. The government cannot repay simple income tax. Can you imagine this? That the government has taken your money, but then cannot repay you your income tax. We have never had this before.
Lisa Lord, CBC News.
Thanks, Lisa. Time for a break now, but first we want to get your take on this issue. Should businesses create programs to assist in keeping their staff healthy? Text yes or no to short code 8111. We'll have the results at the end of the news.
Hi, I'm Red Plastic Bag. Anyone who knows me knows I don't like cold. Sunshine reigns in my country. I love it.
Win a cruise this year with Byco. Just spend $10 on any Byco product and claim a scratch card. You could win 2 7-day Carnival cruises, courtesy of Foster & Ince, and 2 dinner cruises from Black Pearl Party Cruises, or one of 500 1 liters of Byco ice cream and 1,000 Byco bandanas. See press for a list of participating outlets or call Byco at 430-2100.
The influenza virus can be transmitted from the nose and mouth of an infected person. When an infected person sneezes or coughs, the virus is released. Persons in close contact are at risk of contracting the virus. Surfaces touched by an infected person may also become contaminated. We can contract the virus by touching our nose, eyes, or mouth after coming in contact with a contaminated surface or infected person.
The influenza virus can be easily destroyed by hand washing and by applying disinfectants to surfaces our hands come into contact with. Remember to cover your nose and mouth when you cough and sneeze. Throw tissues into the garbage. Wash your hands frequently using soap and water or an antiseptic hand wash.
Correct hygiene controls the flu.
The local renewable energy sector has been given a significant boost following a major announcement by the Fair Trading Commission today. The Commission has decided to increase the capacity of the Renewable Energy Rider, or RER, from 9 megawatts to 20 megawatts.
In a release, Chief Executive Officer of the Commission, Peggy Griffith, says the decision followed the submission of the Intermittent Renewable Energy Penetration Study to the FTC by the Barbados Light and Power, or BLNP, earlier this month. The study was in support of its request to increase the RER limit to 20 megawatts. She said the Commission has accepted that 20 megawatts of distributed photovoltaics can be accommodated on the grid without creating challenges. In order to facilitate broad uptake of renewable energy technology, the Commission has requested that the BLNP reserve 1 megawatt of the last 3 megawatts of capacity for residential customers, once the first 17 megawatts of capacity has been allocated. The RER credit factor will remain at 1.6 times the fuel clause adjustment. With respect to accommodating levels higher than 20 megawatts of intermittent renewable energy on the grid, the study details a number of mitigating measures that should be implemented to ensure grid reliability and stability. Meanwhile, the Commission will be having further discussions with the BLNP. This will be followed by public consultation to determine a viable long-term RER capacity limit for solar and wind energy, which can safely be accommodated on the grid. Ryan Broom for CBC News.
Thanks, Ryan. A man is listed in stable condition tonight after being shot in New Orleans, St. Michael last night. He was one of 3 injured. Another man and a woman were also hurt during the incident. It all happened after armed men stormed 7th Avenue just about 9:30. None of the injuries appear to be life-threatening. 4 houses and 2 cars were also damaged. And a Canadian national has been handed a 2-year jail sentence at Her Majesty's Prison at Dodds. This after pleading guilty to drug trafficking charges. Police say 39-year-old Clifford Uba Ejimamu appeared at the District A Magistrates Court today to answer the charge of trafficking, importation, possession, and possession with intent to supply 1.5 kilograms of cocaine. The cocaine was found on board the cruise ship Oceana at the Bridgetown port. Police say Ejimamu was fined $75,000 forthwith, or 2 years in prison, on the charge of trafficking, and on the charge of importation he was fined $25,000 forthwith, or 2 years in prison. The sentences are to run concurrently. Police say Ejimamu was convicted, reprimanded and discharged on the charges of possession and possession with intent to supply cocaine. Still to come, a look at some of the major stories across the region. But first, a reminder that we want to hear from you on this question. Should businesses create programs that assist in keeping their staff healthy? Text yes or no to short code 8111. We'll have the result for you at the end of the news. And remember,